I'm Abhinav, and this is a presentation for my English class. This is on how neuroscience can be linked to my area of study, electrical engineering. And we'll start this presentation with an idea from a science fiction that I really like. We'll formalize this idea, which is called an information illusion, as a problem. And then we'll discuss some paths on how we can get a solution to that problem. And I don't have any solutions yet, but my task over here is just to point out a few directions in which we can work in order to get informational illusions for real. So this idea comes from a novel by Douglas Adams. It's called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I will now read a brief excerpt from the book. It's slightly edited. So here it goes. They were left standing on a quiet hilltop on a tranquil evening. The sun was setting. All around them, softly undulating green countryside rolled out gently into the distance. Birds sang about what they thought of it all, and the general opinion seemed to be good. The sun had nearly set. As if out of nowhere, music began. Slotty first, now that's a character from the novel, tugged at a switch, and it stopped. The place was peaceful. Arthur felt happy, even Perth seemed cheerful. They walked a short way in the direction of the town, and the informational illusion of the grass was pleasant and springy under their feet, and the informational illusion of the flowers smelled sweet and fragrant. Well, won't you want to live in a movie like that where you can just see and interact with things? Well, I do want to. Well, we already do that in our dreams. Every night our brain cooks up all this stuff, so we already know how to do it. We just need a way to control it, and if we can control and manipulate our dreams, it could be so much fun. Imagine, running wild in a movie, and you can really do whatever you like. So, yep. Now, to realize informational illusions, we can treat it as a problem. It's just like a math problem where we can follow the steps which we use to solve any problem. Define it, look for helpful information around you, form some sort of a solution to the problem, see if it works, try to evaluate it, and then modify it. So first for the definition. Now we're talking about dreams over here. What we want to do is, we need control. We want to be able to start and end our dreams. We want to be able to involve all of our senses, and we want to have memories so that we can have experiences and then recall what we did in our dreams so we can actually learn something from that. So that's the definition. Now to the step 2, we need to look around for some information. Now research is a great place to start, but as you can see, there's a lot of work happening in neuroscience, and I'm not an expert over here. But I will try to include a few things that I found that are interesting, that sort of link up to this problem, and yeah, we'll carry on from there. So first, let's start with how vision works. Dreams, it's all about seeing and many of the things, but first it comes to vision. So normally when you see things, there are a lot of these things which are called, forget the name, it's a very interesting thing, rhodopsin 2, I think that's the name, yeah. So this thing in your eye captures photons and then uses that to generate some impulses which go into your brain. Now these impulses in the brain, all these electrical signals can be seen by researchers who are using fMRI scanners. Now what these guys do is they look at the magnetic properties of your blood and use that to generate some images, because cells need blood. If cells are working, they'll need more blood, and you can sort of trace what's happening. So this links up to dreams in a very interesting way, because I found an article that Professor Elise suggested. So these guys are working in Japan, and what they're trying to do is they get a person to sleep, they look at the brain patterns of the sleeping person, and then they try to think of what the person might be seeing. They're trying to get a direct correlation between what a sleeping person dreams of and what all the signals that they get and they see on the fMRI scans. And they're actually doing pretty good. They can predict what a sleeping person is seeing with an accuracy of up to 60%. But right now they're working only on early stages of sleep, but maybe they'll do something more and get into REM sleep. But that was about it. So next thing that we come to is electrical engineering, and a specific part of electrical engineering, that is digital design. This is a crib sheet from a class in digital design. And the idea is like this. You have circuits that take in inputs and generate outputs. It's like a washing machine. Press a few switches, inputs go in, it gets processed, something happens, and the circuits get things to work in the machine. So there's some research being done. It's actually a summer research project at Johns Hopkins University, where the researchers are trying to model brains into silicon. So what they want to do is not model the whole brain, but just focus on the visual processes that animals and humans use when they see something. So they have some sort of chips, microchips working over here, and they're trying to model neurons like that. They have information coming in that gets processed, and they're trying to understand what the brain is doing, at least one part of it. So that's how EE can help us in understanding the brain. If you can understand brain, we can understand dreaming, we can talk about manipulation over there, and this is like one direction in which we can go. Another one is talking about DNA. Now there's a very quick tutorial on how DNA works. Your cell has information called DNA, which is used to make RNA, which the cell uses to make proteins. Proteins are needed for everything that you do, sort of. And the environment can regulate what your proteins are doing. I mean, it doesn't regulate the proteins, but it can regulate this process so you can get proteins to do things that are suitable with the environment that you're in. So we can play around with that as well. Before that, you need to understand that there's a very interesting process called long-term potentiation, or the late phase of that. It's something to do with synapses and neurons and how memories are formed in your brain. And I'm having this keyword come in because I don't really understand it, but the idea is that some researchers are working on implementing digital logic inside of cells. So the idea is this: you have a digital system inside which can help you control what to do with your DNA, what sort of proteins to generate, and if we can do that, we may be able to do that, the same thing for neurons, modify a little bit of what we're dreaming or memories that we have. So that's sort of the idea. I know it's a bit complicated, but I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on this. But before we even start working on this, the question to ask is, should we do this? Should we mess around with a system like that? So yeah, I think we should, but it's sort of an open ethical question, and I would really like to live my dreams, and I think that was it. Thank you.